Alright. Hey guys, I'm Brandon. I'm the current sophomore class senator. I'm going to be the rising junior class senator. I've served in a variety of roles as in my term as sophomore class senator, serving on finance committee, student organizations, health safety and sustainability, and in collaboration with student services. So I've got a variety of different experiences with different committees, and I hope to, with that experience, collaborate with all committees and bring forth our goals to fruition. Um, yeah.
And next we'll have Mufasa.
Hi all, I'm Mufasa. I am the current senior class senator, and I've also been in CSO. I've been in finance, and I'm the current chair for the Latin X Caucus with Dolby pending that over soon. Now, currently, this SGA has been going through a lot of changes. And right now, there's many of us who are very new and who many of us are new, and this is an opportunity for us to start clean slate. We're going to be having to work together through committees, tabling events, event planning, and much more. And I want to be able to work with you guys and create an environment in which we can all communicate with each other and find a community, and actually found the community within each other, which is something that's been sorely lacking in SGA. That is my sole focus for you guys and something I want to do. In Kendo, that is one position that I have to play. Someone who has to engage with our leaders, someone who has to engage with our players, someone who has to keep the team together. And that's what I want to fulfill with you guys. I feel like I have the qualifications and I have the energy to meet your guys' demands. And I want to make sure that you guys feel invited here in SGA. Thank you.
I'm gonna learn everyone's names, I promise. I called you Ryan, but Brian, is that correct?
Either one, Rayon or Ryan.
Okay, Brian. Well, I'll go with whatever's correct. Okay,
Sounds good. All right. So I'm Ryan. I'm currently the senator for Whiting School of Engineering. I don't have a speech or anything. But the one thing that I was thinking when everyone was giving the speeches up there and everything was, what did I get myself into? Because they're all talking about like long meetings, boring stuff. And I was like, this seems so like redundant. Like I was talking to people and everyone, past people, like presidents, and everyone was like, we don't really know. And I didn't like that. And the reason I want to run for vice president is I don't want it to be like that. I want this to be something that we enjoy coming to, something that we actually feel like we learned something else. And I may not have experience in the Senate, but I feel like I can definitely see the opportunity like this here. Thank you.
Sure. Last but not least, we have Nasreen.
Everybody, my name is Nazreen. A lot of people call me Naz. Either one is cool. And it is with great enthusiasm and dedication that I stand for you guys today, trying to run for vice president of the Senate. Now, it's no joke that we all have heard, side chat included, that there is a reputation for SGA, which is why we all are here to change SGA as it was in the past and to move forward and turn it into something even better. And as a student leader, I'm also an RA, so I have a deep commitment to improving student life, and I'm excited to share some specific initiatives that I would like to see in SGA moving forward that I believe will make a tangible difference in everybody's lives. First and foremost, I believe that, especially at Johns Hopkins, mental health and well-being of our students should be a priority. I work tirelessly with all of you, as well as Zohar, and we'll make sure that we have, if not improved access, or we cannot create, we can't hire more counselors at the counseling center, but we can increase awareness on mental health. Another initiative that I think that we can promote is diversity, equity, and inclusion. We are so lucky now to have a Black caucus. We have all these specific senators that are going to be representing different divisions of our student body. And with that, I would like to increase access and resources for our students of different identities and different organizations and communities, especially historically marginalized communities being in Baltimore. And I believe that we must create a more welcoming and inclusive environment across campus. Now, as vice president of the Senate, I will do this by making sure that we all collaborate.
10 seconds.
And, make our campus an inclusive and great place to be and work together to make that happen. So, thank you.
We're going to go into voting again. Their numbers are listed on the board: Stone, Brandon, Mufasa, Ryan, and Nazreen. So cast your votes. Okay, has everyone voted? Anyone not vote? Okay.
Going once, going twice.
Not for the one.
Looks like
Was there a sponsor?
Nazreen is the winner. Yeah. So now we're going to move on. If you guys don't know how this works, I know a lot of us are new to SGA, but this is just kind of the general procedure if you guys have the agenda open from Teams. So now we're going to move on with convening business to the student body presidential appointments from President Cho. You also don't have to clap. We'll see him a lot. I know we will.
Hey, thank you all. Just some background context. What we're doing now is, according to the Constitution, the student body president can appoint additional members to the president's cabinet that serve in a variety of advisory and/or actionable capacities. Historically, it hasn't been presented to Senate like as a confirmation, but last week we actually passed an amendment that allows the Senate to vote to confirm or not nominees for the cabinet, just to improve our checks and balances. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go through the list of nominees. There may be more in future weeks, but this is the initial iteration that has been reviewed by the cabinet. All right, let's start. All right, so Director of Communications, formerly named the Director of Social Affairs. Sorry. Their primary goal is to further SGA transparency and communication to students. So they run the CMC, that's the Communications and Marketing Commission, which takes on a variety of and like effectively most of SGA's outward-facing organizational communications. Also the SGA. So Milton was actually the director of communication, or the equivalent, the director of social affairs this past year. Did an incredible job reviving a lot of our communications work, and so we'd like to re-nominate him for this position. Yeah.
I accepted these two in the wall again for the end. Okay, so you're only presenting one person, right?
Some of two.
Okay, but they're not like competing.
No.
Okay, we'll just do all of them and then.
Wait, order? Don't we have to confirm them individually?
Yeah, we can do all the confirmations in a row.
Fair enough.
If you guys think I'm doing something wrong, use a point of order.
Where? We were doing it all.
Yeah, we'll do it on.
I also don't know if there's a precedent for like the.
Could you guys explain point of order information all this stuff?
That would be a point of order. Perfect. Information. So there's two different things. Point of order is like when we're breaking procedure. So if someone's talking out of turn, or like your like time is up, or like
We're in the middle of voting to vote, but you need something clarified, you can like pause voting procedure to be like point of information or point of order, like, or what are we doing?
you can say that out of the blue. It doesn't. There's no like time where you're not allowed to do it. It's like if you need anything clarifying. So for example, you only use a point of information when it's like a specific question. If we have like a ton of questions about like a bill that was just presented, that's when we would motion to move into like a Q&A or a moderated caucus. So if you have like a specific question on something that you might be confused on, point of information.
Yeah, if you guys are confused by it, just don't worry, it's your first day, you guys said. Point of order, it's not a proper use of.
Also, point of information can be if people are misconstruing some information and you have like clarifying knowledge to present to everyone. So if someone's like not understanding something, you can provide clarification. It doesn't have to be a question for someone else.
So what do you say?
Okay. All right. The second of two appointed positions mandated by the Constitution, the Director of Research. I believe this one is also, or this one is not also, but this one is new for this year. The role is to support SGA advocacy and present potential new policies. So they chair the PRDC, the Policy Research and Development Commission. And they analyze surveys, research topics requested by SGA members, etc. So our nominee, Vanessa, Vanessa previously, I think, was interested in the judiciary, but found that this was actually a better fit due to experience with managing people, with academic research, and with familiarity with past PRDC activity. Chief of Staff. This one is not one mandated by the Constitution. In previous years, cabinet responsibilities that have not been specifically assigned to a cabinet member have been delegated to the secretary largely. This year, we're hoping to better stick to the roles that are outlined in the Constitution. And so we are interested in nominating a chief of staff. Effectively, their goal is to support the student body president and the cabinet with responsibilities not clearly outlined. Communication with other branches, and supporting all cabinet members. For this nomination, we have Sean, previously a senator of the freshman class, experience on the Student Services Committee, and the previous vice chair of student organization. Also, director of transitions. As you all know, we're undergoing a massive transition this year. Big change in structure. We're almost 150% as large, I think, as we have been in the past. And we have a lot of stuff changing in our governing documents. So the director of transitions helps to ensure a smooth transition between past and future administrations. That includes solidifying the new structure, preparing new member orientation and meeting with new members regularly, preparing transition documents for future administration. And for this, we have Elena as our nominee. Elena has been in SGA for very, very many years and is among the most knowledgeable, possibly the most, of SGA structure, history, etc. Elena was responsible for initiating many of the major structural changes, including some of the ones that you see taking effect today. Co-directors of advocacy. Okay. The co-directors of advocacy support members working on ambitious advocacy projects, especially those related to upper administration. They mentor senators, engage with advocacy projects. They provide context on past SGA efforts or administrative responses, and liaise with external representatives. For these, we have two nominees, both like as a co-appointment position. The first being Ireland, who has extensive experience with advocacy, with the WGMC and the Disability Caucuses, familiarity with SGA history, of course, and background on the Civic Engagement Committee. We also have Kobe, who is only going to be with us for one semester, the fall one. But Kobe also has extensive experience with advocacy, including being responsible for the Critical Diaspora Studies major. Background on the Civic Engagement Committee, and many connections with other student governments. And I believe our last set, also two appointments, is the co-directors for publications. Their goal is to provide a thorough but digestible summary of SGA activity. This includes weekly press releases, including what we do in place of the long updates or reports that usually take place during session. This also includes helping to compile information for SGA recaps in collaboration with the Communications and Marketing Commission, and any communications with the press. This may include the newsletter, the Hub, or any Hopkins-based media, or local news. Oh, and just a heads up, sorry. This will be a dual cabinet appointment and a CMC appointment, so they'll serve on both. Okay. Our first one, Caitlin. experience on editorial teams of JHU student publications, and a background in reporting on SGA meetings for the newsletter.
What information? What is CMC?
The CMC,
Yeah, if you, okay, the CMC is the Communications and Marketing Commission. It's kind of dealing with all the outward facing, like, for example, this is just some clarifying things, like SGA. Typically there's a newsletter representative at all of our meetings, and there's a newsletter article written about every general body meeting. Like, in addition, if you ever need like a statement from SGA on certain topics, they would be like the point of contact and like making that digestible, and social media.
Sorry for the.
Oh, that's great. That's what it's for.
so we're already thinking. And then Chris. Chris also has a background on the newsletter editorial team, and has experience with corporate marketing and press release. And that concludes our nomination, our initial round of nominations. Again, there may be more coming weeks, but this is what we thought was good to start with.
Yeah, great. So I think we're going to, are they all here? No, okay. They don't need to be here to accept though.
No.
Okay, so which is the nomination? Okay, so we're just gonna go through each of them, and then we can do a voice vote for this, right? Yeah, we can just do voice vote. So point of order, the way that point of information order, the way that voice voting will work, I just say like all in favor, everyone says aye, all opposed, nay, any abstentions, like abstain. If there's not a unanimous vote, then we go into roll call and we go through every person and you say your vote. Or we can do it with a clicker afterwards. But yeah, so we're just gonna go through each person. So first, all in favor of appointing Milton Diaz to Director of Communications, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, we're just gonna go right clap for Milton. So, all in favor of electing Vanessa Hahn to Director of Research, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? All right. And not here, we can just move on. All in favor of electing Sean Lee to Chief of Staff, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstentions? All right. And all in favor of electing Elena to Director of Transitions, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? All those in favor of electing Ireland to Co-Director of Advocacy, please say aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? And all those in favor of electing Kobe Kong to Co-Director of Advocacy, please say aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions?
Information. What's gonna happen in the graduates case will serve?
So once someone graduates,
Point of order.
sorry.
I'm sorry.
What's the point of information need?
Yeah, you can do that. Yeah, do that. So like essentially you can't have an elected FGA position if you're graduating early. So they just kind of will graduate and then their position, Ryan has the jurisdiction to reappoint whoever he wants to like the president's cabinet. So that can just be like another thing. It doesn't have to be at the first meeting, it can be at any GD.
Yeah, I was gonna say, well, we can just appoint somebody for he's graduated to fill the role if since it's a co-role, we might not necessarily have to, but when we cross that bridge, we will let you know.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Moving on, all in favor of electing Caitlin Jung to Co-Director of Publication? Oh, you do Kobe. I skipped Kobe. All in favor of electing Kobe Kong to Co-Director of Advocacy, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Cool. All those in favor of electing Caitlin Jung to Co-Director of Publications, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? And all those in favor of electing Christopher Zhao to Co-Director of Publication, please say aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? No. All right, then we are done with that. So we can be moving on. Yeah, thank you, Ryan. Actually. So now we're just going to move down the like Senate agenda. So first we do like amendment and approval.
Point of information. How can a vote be for abstention when to abstain is to willingly not vote? So it's basically a contradictory statement.
You do an abstention if you are not in favor or opposed. So you're just saying you're not voting. So it's not, yeah. You're not abstaining from the vote itself. You're abstaining from that person being what everyone else is voting for. Yeah. Okay. Good. Okay. So
if there's
If someone abstains from voting, you have to go around and vote again, or is that?
So you use clickers, so then it would be like yes, no, abstention, everyone votes. Um,
Technically, you can correct when
yeah, point of information on.
So technically, if you don't vote, and you're here for like on the computer or whatnot, it's considered to be an automatic abstention.
Everyone should be voting for everything. So if you don't want to vote, you should say abstain. That makes sense. SGA, I know this, we don't really have updates by class now anymore, but we are looking for volunteers for an Imagine Center event called Sophomore Send Off. And so we need volunteers for that. We will send it on Teams. If you just want to staff that, it'll be staffed with a lot of people. There's also food there, so get food if you show up. I also had, I'm the outgoing chair of the Committee on Student Organization, so I know I'll work with the incoming chair whenever we have them elected, make sure that transition goes smoothly. Yeah, and moving on to advisor report, Charles.
Hi everyone, I second what Jackson said earlier. This is amazing to see this room so full. This is really going to be my first full semester starting. So for all the new people in here, in my first full semester just like yours. So congratulations on me and being inaugurated earlier, and I look forward to working with everyone. I think for the sophomore send off, I saw that I got an email about that. If that event's been submitted already, I'll just go ahead and include it on the back end. Because you have the space already, right? Yes. Right, so I got you.
All right, cool. We are adding the first thing in non-legislative business. So we're just going to do a quick presentation about the SGA committees because you all will be placed on the SGA committees, just so you all know what they are. So I'm just going to be presenting this, which should have just been added to the Google Doc as a link. This is kind of reused from previous years, but the committees are essentially the same. So essentially committees, their purpose is to, work on policy projects and objectives in their field. So there's mostly cross-disciplinary. There's collaboration between committees, class councils, and other groups. So there are 7: academic affairs, civic engagement, finance, health, safety, and sustainability, internal affairs, student organization, student services. It sounds like a lot, but they're essentially just like geared towards certain interests that you might have in SGA. So you can do work through the committee with people who are specifically interested in those topics. There's also some ad hoc committees, so sometimes there's specific ones created. I know there's one for like the school dealing with like coronavirus, for example. There's one for like international students. But it just, if you really want one, the Senate can vote on an ad hoc committee. Yeah, and then can we move next back? So here's just a little bit more of an overview of the committee. So academic affairs, I know Naz was the last chair of academic affairs, but they work with academic departments of the university just to kind of talk about curriculum. So they normally meet weekly or bi-weekly with the deans of the school, just to kind of talk about things. And
What is information? It is the vice deans of the school. The vice dean for undergraduate education.
I'm so sorry, we didn't have to prepare for the conference from last year, but yeah, vice deans. But they essentially just work on things academic related, commencement, convocation, curriculum, stuff like that. Civic engagement is activism within the Baltimore community, and you also collaborate with a lot of the student groups within those categories. Internal affairs is essentially dealing with stuff inside SGA, so bylaw changes, constitutional amendments, disciplinary marks, anything like that within SGA, they're kind of in charge of that. And then we have finance. So I'm just going to couple like finance and student organizations together. They're kind of, previously were like the largest, but now that we have a larger body, they probably won't need to be. But essentially finance and student organizations deal with all student organizations. We have over 100 of them under SGA. If you're in any other student group that gets funding, the funding comes from SGA. So student organization deals with all the re-registration when you register your student organization. And then finance deals with your budget requests. They kind of vote on things like that. It's kind of like a democratic process to make sure there's like equitable distribution of funding. Health, safety, and sustainability. A lot of times we'll collaborate with the Office of Health Promotion and Wellbeing, Homewood Recycling, other sustainability-based organizations on campus. We also have EarthFest coming up soon with health, safety, and sustainability. But we just do a lot of random events with them. And I think there's one more. Yeah, and then student services. So student services is kind of like really wide-reaching. I know Jackson was the previous chair of student services. But any kind of service on campus that you might want to see. Microwaves in Rhodey Cafe, late night to-go boxes, like really any type of student service you might want to see should go through this committee. They kind of have a pretty wide-reaching scope, so they meet with a lot of administrators all across campus. I don't know what our procedure is going to be for placing people into committees. We'll probably do like an interest form. Is that already prepared? You said Nelson might have had something.
Point of information, I guess, to share. The way that we're thinking of doing it is that we'll have the chairs elected here, and then the chairs will work with you and the vice president of the Senate to directly talk about figuring out, okay, how's the best way to make each committee, and then we'd also want an interest form so that people can share, like, I want to be on a committee.
Sure. So we're just going to do chair elections then after this?
Point of order. Wait, when do we plan for that? This JVM or
This committee will be the chair.
okay.
Okay, yeah, so now that I've presented, if anyone wants a motion or anything, if you guys have any questions for me about any committee, moderate pockets for Q&A unless you really know what's going on.
So this is an Caribbean app. Okay.
Wait, so we would motion.
Motion for a Q&A. Motion for a 10-minute Q&A, 1 minute speaking time. Second.
All those in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? Any?
This is a lot of fun.
Okay, so now I have to do clicker.
Oh.
Clicker session. Okay, yeah. 4 against abstain, so cast your votes. There's 1 vote. Yes. It's 32. Okay, 2 people haven't voted. Who are we missing? Oh, it's 34. Okay, let's see our results. Okay, 4. So 10 minutes here, 1 speaking times. So Bob's gonna be first on the list. Anyone else want to be added?
I'm Tim.
Tim.
I
Anyone else? Stone.
So you might want to go about how like allocating time and yielding time.
Okay, yeah. So quick point of order. So whenever we're doing this, it's going to be 1 person speaking at a time, and we ask for Q&A. So it's going to be directed at me. But if anyone else wants to answer a question, you can yield time to someone else. They don't need to yield it for me to answer the question, though, right?
Nope.
No. Okay. So just like say your question. Everyone gets a minute. You got a timer? Yeah. Okay. Cool. First is Mufasa.
Yeah, so one of my questions is now that we have these changes, like changes for the new Senate, what are we gonna do for a lot of the for technically academic affairs? Because that I expect if we're just gonna let all of these new senators fill in that seat, it's gonna be probably 13 senators and additional other senators. Are we gonna start dividing them because we have the seat, or are we just gonna do something about it? Because I just estimate they're going to be one of the
I want to direct that to, I know Jackson and I had a conversation about what's happening, and we had that little meeting, Elena, as well, of how we're dealing with like placement on committees based on your roles. Does anyone have like a note on that? Or like, do we have anything solidified, or is that coming up in the bylaw and rules? Yeah. Okay, so it's coming up in the bylaw and rules bill, but we had some conversations about like student org representative groups being on student organization.
I think we just said student org representatives have to be on either finance or student orgs.
Yep, and then not the academic people being okay. Yes, that's restricted. RSO representatives are either on finance or student orgs, but everyone else it's going to be on like a ranking, and we will like equitably distribute everyone so that the committees are like filled. We have a lot more people this year. Previously, you had to be on either finance or student orgs. Everyone in SGA, we're out of time, but it's in the bylaws. Okay, moving on, Tim.
Yeah, so my main question about these committees was just like, how many are we allowed to join? Is it just like 1, or are we allowed to join like multiple? And like, when they have like these?
I'll yield to you. It's 2 for everyone.
It's technically you can join up to 3. However, I would not recommend joining 3. I would join 2 at first, and then if you feel like you're doing a good job with 2 and you'd like to take on some additional work, then you can do 3. But don't overstress yourself.
Yeah, so committees essentially will typically meet at least 1 additional time out of GBM weekly. So like if you think about like the amount of time you're adding for the weekly meetings, you might not want to add too many. You also might want to have more like targeted work within 1 committee. So like don't spread yourself too thin. But it'll be based on like a ranking, so you probably won't be on one that you're not interested in being in. But I hope that answered your question. Yeah, okay, cool.
What is the procedure for raising an ad hoc committee?
So you would add it to the agenda. You probably do a presentation of like why the committee is necessary, why you want it, so that you can gain support from everyone. Then we would just do a vote. It's a 2/3 vote of the Senate to create an ad hoc committee. They're typically for like special circumstances. Like there's the additional procedure of creating a caucus, which is different. So we have several caucus representatives here. I know like the most recent one was like the Latinx caucus was like last year. Someone created that. So like if there's a representative group or like a minority group, that's for like a caucus. But like the ad hoc committees are more for like targeted initiatives like that. Okay. Stone?
Oh, my question was answered by Mufasa, but I also want to say like in future references, like if we do like a say like 10-minute Q&A, it doesn't have to last the entire 10 minutes. Like just end it.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. Rachel?
Just wondering if they're also going to have elections for the vice chairs for these committees, or it's just for the chairs. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, so vice chairs typically are elected within the committee. So we'll have a chair, they'll have everyone in the committee. So when your committee meets independently, you'll elect a vice chair, and then typically we just present that during your update to GBM, like so and so was elected vice chair. Okay, Shalal.
So if we're voting for chairs today, how does that make sense? Because the committees had selected, usually the committees vote to the chair. Wait, are we still voting for the chairs today?
We would do the whole Senate.
So the idea is that the problem with how it previously worked is that you kind of have like some interest, but sometimes kind of random assortments of people. Like for instance, we had only like I think it was 4 people in internal affairs when it was first confirmed. So it was like 4 people voting for 3 people like running for like it doesn't work very well. And the idea was if you have the entire Senate voting and everybody has the opportunity, because there was a chance last year that you could literally not even be sorted onto the committee that you would be willing to run for chair of. So we think that it's most fair to give everybody a voice. And also if you have really good ideas and you're sharing them running this chair, you'd probably be a really good member of that committee, whether you're chair.
You'll be automatically placed if you're elected chair of the committee. So it kind of makes sense just to have more people voting. Yeah. Anyone else? Or expire for one?
You only do one committee or you have to do it?
You can do 1 to 3 committees. Anyone else? Good thought.
Oh, wait, no, that's Daniel, bro.
Okay, Daniel first.
What's the process to make that icon behind the future voice that term?
So I think that was the audience question, but very similarly, you would typically just add. So the way that this works is whenever you want to add something to the agenda, our agenda is very bare today because there was no time before it. You would normally, I'll send out an email on like Saturdays, or I'll just be calling for like stuff to add to the agenda. You send it to me. I'll either refer it to a committee that it needs to be like approved by. So like funding bills need to be approved by finance, or like other stuff that's like regarding a certain topic, and then it'll go on the agenda. But so for like a committee creation, you would just like send me a little presentation. We go in there, you talk about why it's necessary, and then we just vote. Yeah. Anyone else?
Motion to end,
Okay.
All those in favor of ending the Q&A, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Any extension? All right. So my laptop turned off. Sorry, guys. So we are going to go into voting for these committees now, which should. It's kind of in the wrong section of the agenda.
That's Tom.
I guess non-legislative. I feel like it should be convening, but it's okay. So basically what we're going to do is we're just going to go like committee by committee. Same thing as vice chair, or chair and vice chair. Nominate people. We'll do all nominations. Then for one position, you all present, and then we'll vote, and then we'll just do it one by one. So we'll start with, based on this presentation, so we'll do academic affairs first. So I'm taking nominations for academic affairs. Okay. Anyone else? Academic affairs.
Oh, wait, we did that.
Omar? Anyone else? You have 2 nominations for academic affairs.
Motion to vote.
They got to that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Motion to vote about this.
Like that, but
Yes.
There's, okay. I recognize your motion. There is no second. Your motion fails. We are going. We'll do 1 minute.
I'm just gonna
I
go.
want to keep this concise, so let's do 1 minute for these. I'm just gonna do like, I'll hit the table when we're at
Got it. And then I'll wrap up.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, got it.
Go ahead.
So for me, I've been engaged with the SGA since my freshman year unofficially, but that was primarily because I was most engaged with the academic affairs side of things. I've always been engaged with the Imagine Center and the Life Design Lab people, trying to bring them in and establish a professional network for students at Hopkins and provide them more opportunities, especially for alumni networking and networking with professionals in and around Baltimore. It has been really interesting to engage with those people and learn how those opportunities can actually reach students, whether it be in terms of internships, whether it be in terms of student programs like shadowing, etc. And I've also been on the office of the class president last year under Ryan, specifically working on alumni relations and trying to strengthen them. So that is why I believe that this is one of the core interests that I have in SGA, and I would love to work further. This year already I'm engaged with the undergraduate admissions officers, and we are trying to make sure that all the incoming freshmen have a good knowledge of what curriculums they can take, like what courses they can take, etc., and we're trying to reach out to them and engage more with them. So I feel like there's a lot of ongoing work that is already going on, and if I take over as a chair, I would be able to make sure that everybody in my committee and all of us together, we are able to implement these things.
Cool. Okay, you have 1 minute after the 1 minute.
Hi, my name is Omar. I was voted in for the representative for the Whiting School of Engineering. And I have like many ideas that I want to implement for in terms of like registration and classes for the School of Engineering that would will help me actually implement these ideas if I was part of the academic affairs committee. For example, allowing any engineering students to take any CS class they want. It's a fundamental part of engineering to understand how to code, right? And for some reason, in the school, you have to declare a major of CS to actually be able to do that. And I feel like that's an integral part of being an engineer, and that's one of my many ideas to be implemented inside of the academic affairs committee. Thank you.
Is that allowed? Is that something I can?
What was that?
Something they mentioned in their speech was actually inaccurate.
Point?
Go ahead and raise that point. Or is it not?
No.
Okay, go on.
You can be a question.
Question.
Yeah.
Well, I just think,
Yeah. Point of information.
as yes students, will you take in those sections for them to take classes that they need for the major?
This department is growing incredibly hot, like that.
Yes.
Like they're hiring.
And as the chair of academic affairs, you don't really have any power over creating these sections of classes or doing anything like that integral, unfortunately. You do have the opportunity to talk to the vice deans monthly and talk to them about student concerns and stuff, and they internally work on, with the registrar and all these type of things on like working on these concerns, but you don't really actually have the power to create classes or create sections. You can influence, you can advocate for it, but you don't actually create anything. You just have that position of representing the students.
Thank you.
One information, just like as a random note, are you voting for president and vice presidents?
Yeah, so essentially the way it's going to work is we're only doing caucus chair, and then once the caucuses are all placed, you will elect the vice president of the caucus with within. It's not ever committee, not caucus. Yeah. Okay. Then we need a motion.
Close the vote. Second.
All those in favor of moving into the voting procedure, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Any abstentions? Okay. So now we're going to vote. Candidate 1 is Rayshon. Candidate 2 is Omar. Please cast your votes. We should see 32.
Wait, point of information. Who's G? Like,
1 is Rayshon. 2 is Omar.
oh,
I'm sorry. It was Mark.
yeah.
One is the benefit first, 2 is the benefit third.
Okay, we're missing 2 votes. Not 2. Oh, okay. Okay, cool.
Gosh, crazy.
Let's got it. Congratulations. The next caucus or committee. Why am I saying caucus? I don't want to think. So next we're going to do civic engagement. Do we have nominations for civic engagement?
So
Okay, Ryan? Lisa? Okay, any others? Civic engagement? No one? All right, cool. Well, you can give a little speech, or wait.
I moved the previous question since there's only one person.
What did you
that we
say?
have to vote for. I moved the previous question since there's only one person to vote for.
You will feel it.
Move the previous question means we go into the next.
Okay, so we want to skip this one and come back? Is that what you're saying?
No,
skip
shows.
Yeah, we still running.
Any opposed? Okay. Any abstentions? Okay, now we're gonna do clickers again. Keep in mind, you can also change your vote now if you're afraid to say nay, and someone says nay, you can change it now when you do your clickers. Okay, so if you're in favor of not doing a speech for Ryan, vote for.
Yes.
And then against the speech thing. Okay. Two more. One more. Okay, cool. No speech. Okay, cool. All those in favor of moving into voting procedure, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Any abstention? All right. All those in favor of voting Ryan to the chair of the Civic Engagement Committee, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Any abstention? Congratulations. Okay, next is going to be internal affairs. Do we have nomination for chair of internal affairs?
I nominate Stone.
I said.
Any other nomination for internal affairs?
And I'll make myself.
What's your name again? I'm sorry.
Jaden,
Jaden, okay.
Jaden.
Cool. Any others? No other internal affairs? All right, we're going to do speeches now. So Stone, if you want to come up and present about internal affairs.
Yeah, thank you for nominating me, Bob. I appreciate it. I introduced myself, so I'll skip right into it. So I hope y'all are knowledgeable like what internal affairs is. It's kind of the committee that we want it to be like not active because when it's active, there's a lot of interesting stuff, but it's also not really good. Because a lot of times when it's active, it's like impeachment. And I believe for this committee, it's very important for someone to have prior experience and knowledge, right? Because this handles important, topics like amending the agenda, amending the, constitution, bylaws, and also impeachment, which is a pretty big topic. We also need to know how to handle conflicts, which is something I have prior experience in. And that's why I believe you should vote for me, because I'm currently in the internal affairs, so I know, the procedures and how prior. Thank you all.
Jaden?
So I kind of want to do start off that I don't have any experience in the SGA, but I do have experience in student body organization, especially in my high school. I have settled conflicts before, and one of the things I want to point out is that I can be impartial, which is definitely needed on this position, where we don't want any bias to go into our constitution, our bylaws, into any impeachment proceedings. One thing I can promise you is that I will be impartial throughout this entire committee. And even though I am new to the SGA, it is a co-chair, which means I do have the vice president backing me up in case I am in trouble or in case I don't understand something. So that's all I have to say.
Second.
All those in favor of moving into voting procedure, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? All right, we're going to vote again. Number 1 is Stone. Number 2 is Jaden. This is for chair of internal affairs. 33. Wait,
That was fast.
okay. Okay, it looks like Stone won the election. Congratulations. Moving along, we're going to go into finance. So just a quick note on finance. The chair of finance, or who we elect right now, is going to be co-chair of finance with the treasurer. So that kind of is just like a double-sided position. The executive treasurer and the chair of finance kind of work together. Yeah. Do we have any nominations for chair of finance?
I nominate Olu Kemi.
Well, Kemi, do you accept?
I accept.
Who passed that?
I nominate myself.
What was it?
Leon. Leon.
Elliot. Anyone else? Chair of finance?
I nominate myself.
Brandon? All right. Any other nominations? All right. We're going to start with speeches. First is Olukemi.
Right. Hello, everyone. My name is Ola Kemi. I'm currently a sophomore going to Spanish, starting my second term like Obama. And I'm now at the floor. To be a chair of finance. I was planning on finance last semester, and we worked very hard to implement a lot of things, as in budgeting and things like that. It was also one of my main points while running. Now, why should you vote me? That's a great question. There's a lot of candidates. But what do you think about finance? Student orgs. A lot of our student orgs currently, they're either underfunded or overfunded. The in-between is not very common. So, going into next year, we work to not only better the funding, but help students understand how to use their funding. For example, some clubs have over money. And if you have more money than you need, it does money than everybody else because it has to be an average. So going to things like that, I was just going to make sure that clubs know how to use their money, know how to ask for money, and be bank grants and things like that, as well as keep it in an orderly fashion. So when we bank grants end, this year was always so shaky, so clubs weren't sure, counting and laid out a whole lot of trauma and trouble and chaos. However, going into next year, not only we have better communication with the student orgs and their treasurers, and treasurers, but we'll also help them to get money and use it correctly. Thank you.
Well, hi again, I'm Mufasa. So one of the main committees that I focused on very much has been the finance committee. I worked with a lot of organizations outside to make sure that they have their finances in check. Because one of the major concerns that we've had is a lot of the clubs and organizations on campus, especially minority groups, have not known how have had difficulties filling out a lot of these event requests. So that is something I've been working with, and I want to continue working with as well. I've worked with Jenny, and I've worked with Kaya, the previous treasurer, much closely, as well as Sophie, who has been our finance director. I've been doing it since our I totally forgot the meeting, but since our first meeting when we had to go through dozens of funding allocation for the summer, and had spent various times in and out of breaks,
10 seconds.
like dedicating myself to finance committee. One of the major focuses I also have is making sure that clubs have deep connections past funding being presented, and I want to make sure that they actually get their money in time and for a lot of their requests. Thank you.
My name is Leon Yi, the Center for the Visual and Performing Arts. I'm also the treasurer of a registered student organization, and thus I've dealt with the troubles and obstacles that student organizations have with guaranteed funding, whether it be in months that some groups have to wait for payment confirmation, or some individuals actually paying out of pocket for things that should have been easily dealt with from official sources. As the chair of the committee, I can promise that I will streamline the process of budget requests as well as guarantee impartial, clear, and fair funding for student organizations, including time and consideration.
Hello, guys. So, as a finance chair, I hope to bring communication to the position and transparency. Working with the different treasurers, many of them aren't really familiar with how to fill out these requests at all, and they're not familiar with this big 10-page document called the SAC guidelines. They're not digestible, they're not accessible, and we need to change that. So I would have a meeting with all the treasurers and basically instruct them on how to do this, like, one-on-one, working with each and every one of them. I would also put an emphasis on equitable funding. A lot of clubs, one in particular, had $20,000 in group funds and still go on to request more. That shouldn't be the case when other clubs are still paying out of pocket. I would move to, fund those clubs that deserve more money and, encourage the other clubs to begin using those group funds. And lastly, I hope to also encourage other clubs to use videography, photography to maximize their impact in showing prospective students and highlighting their organizations to current and prospective students. Wow. Yeah.
Motion to vote. All those in favor of moving into voting procedure, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? All right. Candidates on the board. 1 is Oluwakemi, 2 is Mufasa, 3 is Leon, 4 is Brandon. Damn. Looks like Oluwakemi, 1. Congratulations, Oluwakemi.